Nintendo was real for this one. Check it out. Because like it says right here, can't afford a Nintendo Switch 2? Buy a Switch 1, Nintendo says. Yeah, man, Nintendo was encouraging you to buy a Switch 1 if you can't afford a Switch 2. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna blame nobody if they don't buy a Switch 2 because that $450 to $500 price point is pretty steep. I might end up waiting to buy a Switch because I didn't see much of a difference between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 to begin with. And on top of that, I can't play most of my old games on the new console because I might have to pay an extra few dollars just to play my old shit on my new shit. It doesn't really make any sense to me. That doesn't sound feasible. So, I'm not mad at anybody if they don't buy a Switch 2 at this point. And then we don't know what the price is going to be looking like on the official release or later this year because of these goddamn tariffs. And like it says right here, we recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters in these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform they come in. And Nintendo think they slick too because if you don't know, the PS2 is still the best-selling console of all time. And if Nintendo continues to encourage their customers to buy the Switch 1 instead of the Switch 2 because of its price point, I'm pretty sure those few extra sales can get the Switch 2 to be the best-selling console of all time because I believe they're behind the PS2 by like 20 million. I think they can pull off 20 million more sales, especially with the price point of the Switch 2. And I think they could pull it off within the next few months to a year if they continue with this push. So yeah, man, go ahead and get that Switch 1 if you can't afford a Switch 2. I don't blame anybody if they're not going to buy a Switch 2 or if they can't afford a Switch 2 right now because it is a little bit on the expensive side. Just like everything else that's a necessity to our lives is a little more on the expensive side right now, man. So I don't blame anybody if they don't buy a Switch 2. Save your money and keep your Switch 1 if you already have it and just wait to upgrade, man. It's not that serious. But you let me know in the comments, will you still be buying a Switch 2 or will you just hold on to your Nintendo Switch 1?